Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so the first thing on the agenda is a whole pile of minutes here. The first is from 12/21. Dan had some issues with it, and so we had Roger Lohr rewrite them. And I believe he's okay with it, but that'll be up to him to sign. Dan's not well, so that's why he's not here. So.
I can make a motion for all four if you want.
That's fine with me.
All right, I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes as written for December 21st, 2021, January 4th, 2022, January 11th, 2022, and January 13th, 2022.
Second. All in favor?
Aye. You're gonna take care of that one spelling?
And also, as I pointed out earlier, you would want it all that, you said we had to have all the names of people that attend on these minutes.
Yeah, I'll fill those in. They'll be in the box for signature.
All right, while we're doing that, Mike, you want to talk about the budget issues?
Sure. So we have a number of new issues that have come up after the first month in the budget. And I'm only saying it, I'm not going to go through those spreadsheets because it's too early in the year. And it really doesn't impact anything on the deliberative session or the budget proposed for the voters. But it's unforeseen expenses or problems in expenses that we're going to face during 2022. And part of it is already covered. And we have ways to deal with most of it by reallocating funds within the budget. But just so you're aware, on the police department, we're still going to run short on the part-time person that we're using for investigations. If in fact we don't have our one employee going out on military service. So we're watching it, and as soon as we get some direction on which way it'll go, we'll make a decision on what to do with Wayne. We've got money in there. It may not be enough. The maximum would be 20, but again, it's too early to figure that out. For the highway, for the highway department, we still have a vacancy in the highway department that hasn't been filled. We do not have the insurance for that extra position in the insurance budget. So if we fill that position, it will have an insurance cost that goes with it. We may be able to save that just on the fact that we over budgeted in other areas on the health insurance. So it may be okay, but it's something we're going to have to watch. A big issue, as I think all the selectmen know, is that we're having a retirement audit for the last 5 years, which is turning out to be the last 10 years. There is one change that's going to raise hell with the budget, and that is firefighters that are full-time firefighters have a very high percentage of their wages that goes for retirement. It's like 40%. That's true for police and it's true for fire. It's not true for ambulance, not true for highway, for the other departments, but on police and fire, it's 40%. So it means if somebody's making 30,000, that 12,000 has to be paid in addition to that for retirement from the town of Canaan. So we have Hennessy's new position. So we had already budgeted for retirement on the part that's related to the fire department at the higher percentage, for retirement. Then everything else was under the lower part. And the difference is 14% versus 40%. So fire and police is 40, regular employees is 14%. Well, the auditor that came in for retirement has indicated that the rules now, and I don't know when the rules changed, but the rules now are, even if you only work 5 hours out of 40 hours a week for fire, your entire salary is considered at the higher rate. So that means we would have roughly triple what we thought for retirement for that position. So I think that's about 15 grand more is what it would cost us on retirement. And again, I think we'll
Is
find
that
a,
annually?
yeah. So I think we're gonna have to find a way to cover it, and I think we will. And then everything that we're hearing right now indicates that the mechanic's position is gonna be higher. And I believe it's gonna be 15 grand higher before we're done than what we have in the budget. And again, that's something that we'll have to cover. The good news is right now we have about 35,000 in offsets. And in particular on the health insurance issue, we're getting a refund from last year's health insurance at $28,000 that will be used to offset our expenses for the first 6 months of this year. So we have right now probably about 35,000 or half of all the issues we talked about. The rest are going to be taken care of primarily by juggling within the budget. For instance, we haven't hired the extra highway person yet, nor the mechanic. So all of our numbers are assuming every slot is
You
filled.
sign in, Bill?
So long and short of it is we have, $75,000. Problems we're currently aware of. We know where most of it's going to come from, but it's just to let you know that there are those issues. The other major issue, which is under the budget, is that Gloria's going through a very difficult audit process with the retirement system. And they have a variety of rules which are different than anything Gloria's ever heard before. And they are applying those rules back a total of 10 years. So she is going to have to repost retirement for the last 10 years. It's not going to be a big money issue for us. It could hit a couple of our employees because they may have to pay more into retirement. But generally speaking, it's not going to take a lot of money out of us, but it's going to take a lot of time to recalculate it.
That's because BSNI changed the formula.
Well, no, it's because the retirement system changed the formula. The MSI hasn't changed the formula, and we're not the only town, according to Gloria. There's a bunch of towns that are in the same boat. And it's question is like, if you have a holiday, is the holiday treated as base compensation or is it treated above base compensation? The rules generally are a holiday is treated above base compensation, so you don't pay retirement. Except now they've come up with another crazy rule that says, yes, it is in this circumstance is considered in addition to base compensation. It only applies to places like the fire department. We have a 10-hour shift. That's a regular shift and 8 hours for holidays. So it means 2 hours should be under base compensation that haven't been. So it doesn't make any difference to us. We pay all the money. So it's not a money issue for us. It makes a difference for what is paid by the employees. So there are already discussions going on with Bill Bayan about it because it impacts him. But it's going to be a problem for at least the next 30 days or longer. Well, we figure it out.
Generally, the fire department is going to get more retirement
No, just the
when
chief,
they retire,
just the chief.
just the chief.
Firefighters don't get retirement,
Yeah.
full-time, do.
Full-time,
And John is not full-time. John is only 35% fire department. But this new rule they've imposed, it doesn't make any difference if he's 75%. The town's going to have to pay based on his full compensation, including ambulance and emergency management. Both of those are at a lower rate.
All right, any questions on that? Ellie?
Yeah, I was just curious, does this affect people that don't work for us anymore? If you go back 10 years, there must be people that have left the town's employment.
It probably does, and it's gonna be between the employment system and those employees. It's not, we don't have to be the collection agency to go deal with it.
Okay,
It means that they owe money back to or owe money to the retirement system.
So if they don't pay it, what happens?
I don't know,
they might not get their benefit,
or they may hold it back from the ultimate benefits.
right?
But I mean, there isn't any set of rules. I have talked to, pardon?
Or said it doesn't sound.
No, and I've asked Gloria next week to set up a Zoom meeting with her, myself, and the person she's talking to at the retirement system, and walk through the various situations we've already uncovered, where what the auditor is proposing is inconsistent. So you got about 6 pages of rules. You apply the rules, you can't apply them uniformly with the situations we currently have in the police department. So I think what we're looking for is to have a video meeting where she tells us exactly how the rules are going to be interpreted, and we record it. That's what we're going to stand by. Because otherwise it's not going to work. And Gloria's already asked BMSI to write a script in the software so she can record the numbers going forward. But that doesn't change the problem of how you interpret it in certain situations.
Any other questions?
What generated the refund on the health insurance?
Lower actual claims. It's a co-op. So if there's savings, it goes back to the members.
Is that normal?
I'd say it happens at least a quarter of the time.
It's
They set the rates based on what their underwriters, they have a company that advises them, and then they set the rates based on that. And then if there's a surplus level left over, there was a Supreme Court case about 9 years ago that said that has to be returned to the towns. So they return it. We are still haggling for at least the next couple of weeks about insurance. So New
Our rate
Hampshire,
could go up 28,000.
Pardon?
Our rate could go up 28,000.
no, but it may go down. So Interlocal Trust, which is giving us a refund based on the lower claims, has already cut their offer down to no increase. Now they're looking at cutting it down another 4 or 5%, which would get it to the same level as the Health Trust. So we'll play it out for another 2 or 3 weeks and see what happens. Right now, we're going with Health Trust, but we don't make that decision until the end of February.
Anybody else? All right, next thing on the agenda is tax rate impact on low income rental housing.
That you, Bill? This was a time so you could come in and discuss with the board what's going on with your situation and housing.
Okay,
And so feel free to,
come up there.
yep,
Whatever.
or there, either place.
Okay, well, I can stay here, that way I can take my mask off.
Sharon, is it gonna be heard? Speak loudly, Bill.
Sure, how's that? Just a little bit about us. My wife and I moved here in '96, and in 2004, my wife started a company called Hinkson Brook LLC, where she purchased some rental properties under the byline of rent with or housing with dignity. And her plan was to be able to provide housing to the community that we've committed to. That if we didn't want to live in it, we weren't going to ask other people to live in it. And in 2005, she bought a second property, and things were going along pretty well until 2008, when there was a crash. And at that crash, the game changed. All of a sudden, we were working real hard to get people in apartments that could pay the rent. Needless to say, the last 2 years have been extremely difficult for us. We have had 3 evictions, 2 of which were due to criminal activity. One was, for the most part, a public safety issue because of cleanliness. And then we had another tenant leave of their own volition, but we have got 4 units that are trashed, that need complete renovation to make them work. So we're looking for ways that maybe we can stop the bleeding a little bit. We've really committed to making this work in this community, and on occasion, we've been able to work with the town, with tenants that needed housing, but right now, we're probably in the worst position we've ever been in. We just have so many people that are struggling, they miss payments, they've lost jobs, and it's really hard to say to keep this going. Right now, I think my wife's numbers were something in the order of a $3,000 increase, almost $4,000 increase in real estate tax for those two properties over the previous year. And I don't know where that's going to come from, to be honest with you. And we're just looking for ways that we can keep going and stop the bleeding. And the real estate tax helps. You know, it adds up, and this is the place to start for us.
Have you filed for an abatement?
I'm sorry.
Have you filed for an abatement?
No, we have not. With this, I was told by Mike that maybe this is the first place to start.
Yeah, I suggest they come in and tell you what the situation is.
Yeah.
And I really haven't had a chance to talk with them, but abatement is one way of going. Just getting the assessor to go back up based on the condition of the properties is another way to do it. I also was going to suggest that we have another tenant that's been in a hotel again for 6 days. So it might pay us to do the same thing with Matt Dow, which is the town does a rental. And we use it.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Okay, so I'll talk to you anyway, and tell you what. the options are.
So the first thing I would suggest is you file an abatement, and then we can put in a request to have them get back out there, take a look at it. The abatement's gotta be in by March 1st. So there's applications right in the town office. I would start with that.
And I'll walk through it with you.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? All right. Next thing on the agenda, Susan Prentice.
She's gonna be coming in on the 15th to meet with the board.
Want to explain to everybody who she is, because I never heard.
Yeah,
of her.
Susan Prentice is a state senator that represents Canaan. She has one of the senatorial districts, and she represents Canaan. She asked to come and meet with the board and asked me to tell her in advance, if possible, any issues which the town is concerned with. There's two that immediately come to mind. So I thought I would raise it tonight. So if you could think of anything and anybody's got anything that wants to be addressed by her, let me know and I'll pass it on to her office so she can do something other than come and say hi, support me. The two that we have currently on the water project, we're waiting for guidance for rules on the ARPA money and how can we get into the funding cycle for the money from COVID for the water system repairs. The rules were already set for sewer. Nothing's been set for water. And I'm getting very anxious because it's important that the rules allow us to get into it. And it's just not clear what those rules are going to be. So I told her that was an issue. She says, well, that's up to the governor's office. I say, yes, but the legislature has guidance in both two ways. One is the joint legislative committee on the ARPA money. And the other way is on proceedings with DES, Environmental Services. I said, so it would be really good if you could go back and make it abundantly clear that there are huge needs out here. And we need to have some guidance on how we make those needs part of this process. And the example I gave was recently the co-op park, mobile home park had a failed septic system. And it was going to cost the 28 homeowners something like $180,000, $200,000, which they couldn't afford. So they released the rules for the ARPA money. And I thought, sure, it would be funded out of the ARPA money, and it was not. So instead, they provided $1 million or something to Carnegie Mountain School for expansion of their wastewater system, but nothing for the co-op park, which had a failed system. And I questioned it, and 2 weeks went by and they changed it again. So they funded the co-op park, so the entire cost is being funded out of ARPA. So it'd be nice if we at least had an idea what the rules are so we can try to address problems. I explained to her that we have a big need. We really need to get that money to support the repairs in the water system in the village, so it doesn't harm people with high rates. So that was one.
So
The
we
other
do
one,
have questions then.
yeah, the other one is on utilities. Somebody in the legislature has put in a bill to exempt from property taxes all utilities. That would have a huge impact on us. So that's it. So I'll be next meeting,
All right, deliberative session
Saturday, 1 p.m.
at the Canaan Elementary School.
Yeah, we're gonna put it on Zoom. People who are on Zoom, and we've already worked this out with Dale. And Sharon and I have talked about it. So what'll happen is, Sharon, so she's there. Sharon will be monitoring her computer, and if somebody wants to ask a question on Zoom, they will be able to. She'll signal to Dale that they're in line and want to ask a question. Dale will bring that person up when they're next up on the roster. They can ask questions, get answers. They will not be able to vote by Zoom. It's highly problematic, and all that was reviewed with our attorney and with the Secretary of State's office. So Zoom will be available for people to watch the meeting, ask questions, and get answers at the meeting. But that's it. So they will not be able to vote.
Is the school requiring masks?
Yes,
Yes.
All school properties.
all school properties, not that now. Okay, so if you come to the meeting,
Wear a mask.
So if I don't show, or don't wear a mask, I have to go home.
Yep.
Okay.
not a Halloween mask either.
Town report.
That's what these are.
Okay, so the draft is here. We need to get a dedication on it, but everything else has been finished and proofed, I think, 4 or 5 times. Doesn't mean there aren't errors. But it means that a lot of people have gone through it, checking for corrections. Nothing really exciting.
Okay. Other business. Anybody have anything?
I do. A few weeks ago, Mike gave a report on the transfer station. And I called him the next morning and told him that his numbers for roll-off was not right. He told me that was a number no matter what. And I didn't give you a call. So I made a couple of phone calls. And it really doesn't matter which way we go, roll-offs are gonna be called just as much as a trailer. Enfield and Line both do zero sort recycling with 40-yard boxes. And they're averaging anywhere from 3.83 tons per box to 5.5. Line has the same thing in there. I've got one ticket from there that is 5.43 tons. So I just want to make it aware that the number that, and you know, he's saying we'd have to take twice as many trips to Maine, which we wouldn't. And
But I believe Lime charges too, right?
I have no idea what they charge. No, I'm just-
Yeah.
It's just the amount of tonnage that goes in the boxes is
Right.
what I'm concerned about.
I think they don't put them-
They do zero sort recycling, they, you know, I was asked if we leave the glass in because that's gonna make it lighter, but he
No,
was
we
saying
do.
they only got half as much tonnage in the boxes as what they're actually getting.
We do zero sort, right?
I'd like to respond to it, but not tonight, obviously. I'm
Yeah, no, I
sure-
want to look at these. We'll bring this up, we'll have it on the agenda for next meeting. All right? Yeah, thanks. Anybody else? All right, and we need a motion to go on the non-public briefly.
We're
I'll
gonna-
make that motion.
Dedications in public.
Yeah, we'll do that. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Don't
you.
forget candidates night.
I won't. Wait.